The Alchemist, page number 58. The boy went to his room and packed his belongings. They filled 3 sacks. As he was leaving, he saw in the corner of the room his old shepherd's pouch. It was burnt up, and he had hardly thought of it for a long time. As he took his jacket out of the pouch, thinking to give it to someone in the street, the two stones fell to the floor, Urim and Thummim. It made the boy think of the old king, and it started him to realize how long it had been since he had thought of him. For nearly a year he had been working incessantly, thinking only of putting aside enough money so that he could return to Spain with pride. Never stop dreaming, the old king had said. Follow the omens. The boy picked up Urim and Thummim, and once again had the strange sensation that the old king was nearby. He had worked hard for a year, and the omens were that it was time to go. I am going to go back to doing just what I did before, the boy thought. Even though the sheep didn't teach me to speak Arabic, but the sheep had taught me something even more important. That was there was a language in the world that everyone understood, a language the boy had used throughout the time that he was trying to improve things at the shop. It was the language of enthusiasm, of the things accomplished with love and purpose, and as part of a search for something believed in and desired. Tangier was no longer a strange city, and he felt that just as he had conquered his place, he could conquer the world. When you want something, all the universe conspires to help you achieve it, the old king had said. But the old king had not said anything about being robbed, or about endless deserts, or about people who know what their dreams are but don't want to realize them. The old king had not told him that the pyramids were just a pile of stones, or that anyone could build one in his backyard, and he had forgotten to mention that. When you have enough money to buy a frog larger than the one you had before, you should buy it. The boy picked up his pouch and put it with his one other things. He went down the stairs and found the merchant waiting on a foreign couple, while 2 other customers walked about the shop, drinking tea from crystal glasses. It was more activity than usual for this time of the morning. From where he stood, he saw for the first time that the old merchant's hair was very much like the hair of the old king. He remembered the smile of the candy seller on his first day in Tangier, when he had nothing to eat and nowhere to go. That smile had also been like the old king's smile. It's almost as it had been here and left his mark, he thought, and yet none of these people has ever met the old king. On the other hand, he said that he always appeared to help those who are trying to realize their destiny. He left without saying goodbye to the crystal merchant. He did not want to cry with the other people there. He was going to miss the place and all the good things he had learned. He was more confident in himself, though, and felt as though he could conquer the world. But I am going back to the fields that I know, to take care of my flock again. He said that to himself with certainty, but he was no longer happy with his decision. He had worked for an entire year to make a dream come true, and that dream, minute by minute, was becoming less important. Maybe because that was not really his dream. Who knows? Maybe it's better to be like the crystal merchant, never go to Makkah, and just go through life wanting to do so, he thought, again trying to convince himself. But as he held Urim and Thummim in his hand, they had transmitted to him the strength and will of the old king. By coincidence, or maybe it was an omen, the boy thought. He came to the bar he had entered on his first day there. The thief was not there, and the owner brought him a cup of tea. I can always go back to being a shepherd, the boy thought. I learned how to care for sheep, and I have not forgotten how that's done. But maybe I will never have another chance to get to the pyramids in Egypt. The old man bore a breastplate of gold, and he knew about my past. He really was a king, a wise king. The hills of Andalusia were only 2 hours away, but there was an entire desert between him and the pyramids. Yet the boy felt that there was another way to regard his situation. He was actually 2 hours closer to his treasure. The fact that the 2 hours had stretched into an entire year didn't matter. I know why I want to get back to my frog. He thought, I understand sheep. They are no longer a problem and they can be good friends. On the other hand, I don't know if the desert can be a friend, and it's in the desert that I have to search for my treasure. If I don't find it, I can always go home. I finally have enough money and all the time I need. Why not? He suddenly felt tremendously happy. He could always go back to being a shepherd. He could always become a crystal salesman again. Maybe the world had other hidden treasures, but he had a dream and he had met with a king. That does not happen to just anyone. He was planning as he wrapped the ball. He had remembered that one of the crystal merchant's supplier transported his crystal by means of caravans that crossed the desert. He had Urim and Thummim in his hand. Because of those two stones, he was once again on the way to his treasure. I am always nearby when someone wants to realize their destiny, the old king had told him. What could it cost to go over to the supplier's warehouse and find out if the pyramids were really that far away? The Englishman was sitting on a bench in a structure that smelled of animals' sweat and dust. It was part of warehouse, part coral. I never thought I'd end up in a place like this, he thought, as he reefed through the pages of a chemical journal. 10 years at the university, and here I am in coral. But he had to move on. He believed in omens. All his life and all his studies were aimed at finding the one true language of the universe. First, he had studied Esperanto, then the words religions, and now it was alchemy. He knew how to speak Esperanto. He understood all the major religions well, but he was not yet an alchemist. He had unraveled the truth behind important questions, but his studies had taken him to a point beyond which he could not seem to go. He had tried in vain to establish a relationship with an alchemist. But the alchemists were strange people who thought only about themselves and almost always refused to help him. Who knows, maybe they had failed to discover the secrets of masterwork, the philosopher's stone, and for this reason kept his knowledge to themselves. He had already spent much of the fortune left to him by his father, fruitlessly seeking the philosopher's stone. He had spent enormous amounts of time at the great libraries of the world and had purchased all the rarest and most important volumes on alchemy. In one he had read that many years ago a famous Arabian alchemist had visited Europe. It was said that he was more than 200 years old and that he had discovered the philosopher's stone and the elixir of life. The Englishman had profoundly impressed by the story, but he would never have thought it more than just a myth, had not a friend of his returning from an archaeological expedition in the desert told him about an Arab that was possessed of exceptional powers. He believed he lives at Al Fayoum oasis, his friend had said, and people say that he is 200 years old and is able to transform any matter into gold. The Englishman could not contain the excitement. He cancelled all his commitments and put together the most important of his books. And now, here he was sitting inside a dusty, smelly warehouse. Outside, a huge caravan was being prepared for crossing of the Sahara and was scheduled to pass through Al Fayoum. I am going to find that damned alchemist, the Englishman thought, and the odor of the animals became a bit more tolerable. A young Arab, also loaded down with baggage, entered and greeted the Englishman. Where are you bound? Asked the young Arab. I am going into the desert, the man answered, turning back to his reading. He didn't want any conversation at this point. What he needed to do was review all he had learned over the years, because the alchemist would certainly put him to the test. Young Arab took out a book and began to read. The book was written in Spanish. That's good. thought the Englishman. He spoke Spanish better than Arabic. And if this boy was going to El Foyum, there would be someone to talk to when there was no other important things to do. That's strange, said the boy, as he tried once again to read the burial scene that began the book. I have been trying for 2 years to read this book, and I never get past these two first few pages. Even without a king to provide an interruption, he was unable to concentrate. He still had some doubts about the decision he had made, but he was able to understand one thing. Making a decision was only the beginning of things. When someone makes a decision, he is really diving into a strong current that will carry him to places he had never dreamed of when he first made the decision. When I decided to seek out my treasure, I never imagined that I did wind up working in a crystal shop, he thought, and joining this caravan may have been my decision, but where it goes is going to be a mystery to me. Nearby was the Englishman reading a book. He seemed unfriendly and had looked irritated when the boy had entered. They might even have become friends, but the Englishman closed off the conversation. The boy closed his book. He felt that he did not want to do anything that might make him look like the Englishman. He took Urim and Thummim from his pocket and began playing with them. The stranger shouted, Urim and Thummim. In a flash, the boy put them back in his pocket. They are not for sale, he said. They are not worth much. The Englishman answered, they are only made of rock crystal and there are millions of rock crystals in the earth. But those who know about such things would know that those are Urim and Thummim. I didn't know that they had them in the part of the world. They were given to me as a present by a king, the boy said. The stranger did not answer. Instead, he put his hand in his pocket and took out two stones. That was the same as the boy's. Did you say a king? He asked. I guess you don't believe that a king would talk to someone like me, a shepherd, he said, wanting to end the conversation. Not at all. It was shepherds who were the first to recognize a king that the rest of the world refused to acknowledge. So it's not surprising that kings would talk to a shepherd. And he went on, fearing that boy would not understand what he was talking about. It's in the Bible, the same book that taught me about Urim and Thummim. These stones were the only form of divination permitted by God. The priest carried them in a golden breastplate. The boy was suddenly happy to be there at the warehouse. Maybe this is an omen, said the Englishman half aloud. Who told you about omens? The boy's interest was increasing by the moment. Everything in life is an omen, said the Englishman. Now closing the journal, he was reading. There is a universal language understood by everybody, but already forgotten. I am in search of that universal language. Among other things, that's why I'm here. I have to find a man who knows that universal language, an alchemist. The conversation was interrupted by warehouse boss. You are in luck, you too, the fat Arab said. There's a caravan leaving today for El Fayoum. But I'm going to Egypt, the boy said. El Fayoum is in Egypt, said the Arab. What kind of Arab are you? That's good luck, woman. The Englishman said. After the fat Arab had gone out. If I could, I did write a huge encyclopedia just about the words luck and coincidence. It's with those words that the universal language is written. He told the boy it was no coincidence that he had met him with Urim and Thummim in his hand. And he asked the boy if he too were in search of the alchemist. I am looking for a treasure, said the boy, and he immediately regretted having said it. But the Englishman appeared not to attach any importance to it. In a way, so am I, he said. I don't even know what alchemy is, the boy was saying, when the warehouse boss called to them to come outside. Thank you very much for listening. This is the end of page number 67.